Hi, hey, hello, and welcome to this 75th milestone episode of The Educated Fan. My name is Brandon, and I'm joined here by, joined in person, or I'm joining him, I guess, in his home, your co-host, my best friend, Andrew Moore. Buddy, 75 episodes, and what do? We go back to the Stone Age, and we don't live stream it. We're not putting it on YouTube. So, hello.
How's it going, man? It's good to have you home.
Fine. I'm wondering how long I'm going to ramble before I let you talk. Thanks for having me in your home. Back in Indiana visiting family. Don't have the equipment or probably internet capability to stream this episode. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, unfortunately, or fortunately, possibly for you, you're not seeing our bright, shiny faces. So this week, Andrew, the schedules have been released.
One of the biggest days in the NFL offseason is the schedule release. And I kept seeing tweets that the NFL is pretty phenomenal at marketing when a schedule release takes so much news and there's just so much buzz around it.
Yeah. The NBA playoffs are getting ready to start. Mm-hmm. The NHL playoffs start the same week. And every sports media outlet's talking about the NFL schedule that doesn't occur or take place for months. Yeah, it's definitely the most exciting thing in football to happen after the draft until the first playoff game and the excitement, preseason game. And the excitement over the first preseason game lasts about 5 minutes of the actual preseason game, and you go, oh yeah, this is shit football. So, I mean, you don't have anything to enjoy at that point. But
right.
Not an easy schedule for the Indianapolis Colts this year.
Certainly doesn't start out that way, at least.
You keep saying, talking about the start, which, yeah, obviously the start is tough. We know this, but I think this whole schedule, I don't think this whole schedule gives us much of a break. I mean, we get a couple breaks. Obviously, we get the Jets. I kind of hate that we don't play the Jaguars until week 10. I love that we play them in Jacksonville late. But, I mean, there are tough football games riddled throughout this entire schedule, and we're going to talk about them today.
Oh yeah. So I mean, you talked about it. The way the Colts start, it's the toughest first 5 games in the league. I think each team that in the first 5 weeks won over 10 games that the Colts have to face. But when you look at it the rest of the way, then the Colts have the easiest schedule the rest of the way. And obviously that's based on last year's record. So Jacksonville's going to be better. They've got Trevor Lawrence. The Texans, who knows about them? You'd have to think that the 49ers are going to be a little bit better.
Texans are being talked about as probably the worst team in football this year.
Right. So the Texans, I mean, they won 4 games. Maybe they only win a couple, especially if Deshaun Watson's not going to play.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is here, I think after the first 5 games, I should say, the Colts have the easiest schedule, because when you look at it as a whole, the Colts have the 23rd most difficult schedule in the league. So
what?
Tied for 23rd at most.
That's a joke.
Difficult for the winning percentage. But like I said, that's last year's record. So
oh yeah,
Jacksonville got better. The Jets probably got a little bit better. The 49ers definitely got better because they got healthy again.
I don't think the Jets got good enough to beat us, but I don't think the Jets are going to get their asses slapped like they did when we played them last year. We were both at that game. That was the game I got my sunburn in my hat, and I had the big half circle on my forehead. The 49ers, though, yes, Andrew, they are going to be gads better. They tried to make a playoff run last year without Jimmy G. They tried. They almost were successful in probably the second, if not the toughest division of football last year. So I could see why we could be down, because we don't have to play the AFC North this year, So, I mean, that is the toughest division of football this year, if you ask me. And we don't got to play them. So that's the bright side. But why don't we just start it off with one of the toughest games on our schedule, though?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start. Week 1, Seattle Seahawks are coming to Lucas Oil Stadium. Hey, the Colts get at least week 1 at home. That'll be an advantage.
2013. Last time we won our season opener.
And that was against the Terrell Pryor-led Oakland Raiders at the time. So it's going to be a tough challenge. It's certainly going to be a big game, Carson Wentz's Colts debut. We're almost assuredly not going to have Eric Fisher there at left tackle. Russell Wilson is always a hard game to play. So last time we played the Seahawks, it was in Seattle. I was at that game. That was 2017 when Andrew was out and Jacoby was in. Before that, the last time the Seahawks were came to Lucas Oil Stadium, that was the big game where T.Y. Hilton absolutely went off on Richard Sherman and had over 200 yards and I think 2 touchdowns. So T.Y. Hilton certainly likes to play the Seattle Seahawks. So but I think everyone's going to be watching Carson Wentz and how he does in that first game there in front of Lucas Oil Stadium. And I think it's good that Carson Wentz is going to start out at home, have that home crowd behind him, because as far as I can see, Lucas Oil Stadium is probably going to be a packed house, and that's definitely going to be a plus. So
as of right now, if the NFL kept their hands off, Lucas Oil would be allowed to be filled today.
Probably. So it's gonna be fun. But it doesn't get any easier because week 2.
Oh, can we talk about week 1 for a minute? I'd love to chime in, talk about Russell Wilson,
go right ahead.
Top 3 quarterback in the league.
I agree.
Right off the bat, Kwity Paye is having one of his 3 most difficult games of the year in regards to containing a mobile quarterback. We've got Russ, we've got Lamar Jackson, and we've got Kyler Murray, who's probably the best out of the 3, I think, on their feet. And I understand what that's saying about Lamar Jackson. Blah, blah, blah. Let it go. One advantage we have in this game, Andrew, and somebody was talking about this in regards to Matt Stafford and Sean McVay. Nobody knows what they're going to look like together. That's one advantage we do have going against Seattle, is their defense is not exactly going to know what to expect out of Carson Wentz and Frank Reich. And everybody, well, you can just go look at their tape from, this, and you can look at how we used Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck didn't have these tight end weapons that we have. Carson Wentz has never had the offensive weapons that we have, especially in his running back field. So, we do have a slight advantage, early, I think, but second half of that football game, I think, is going to be really important. But we do have a bit of an advantage there. What's your take on that idea? That game, week 1 is probably the most I'll talk about a specific game.
So week 1, I think, you make a good point that Russell Wilson can escape plays, but I think it's more of a Darius Leonard game than a Kwity Paye game, because it's going to be his debut, so he's going to be getting used to the NFL speed and everything. But Darius Leonard's going to be probably a spy on Russell Wilson for a lot of those. You don't have to necessarily worry about him taking off and beating you down the field, but if he does get outside the pocket, he's going to make a play.
He's so incredible at getting away just enough, turning upfield, and being able to deliver the football. Deliver it, not just throw it, deliver it.
Right. And not only that, Darius Leonard's going to be pretty fired up to be playing against Bobby Wagner over on the other side to kind of prove that he's the best linebacker in the league. But one thing we can use to our advantage, Russell Wilson gets sacked a lot because he holds on to the ball a lot. So you're going to have
We've talked about that. He is on pace now to be the most sacked quarterback in NFL history.
Right.
Brett Favre exists.
So
you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, yikes.
If you have DeForest Buckner, who's fully healthy going up the middle, Russ can't really step up. And if Kwity Paye can get around the left tackle or the right tackle, he's going to be primarily lined up at right end. But if Kwity Paye can have some success, the Colts could get on the board with a couple sacks.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Yes, week 2, Rams at Colts. I'm glad we don't have, real quick, on week 1, I don't think that, how, throughout the season, you got to travel east to west or west to east.
Right.
I do think that plays a factor. I don't think week 1 that plays much of a factor.
Probably not.
Like it does, coming off of a road game, maybe you got to go home and then travel again, something like that. I don't think the Seahawks are at a big disadvantage there. Now the Rams maybe coming to town, still trying to get their feet wet with Matt Stafford and Sean McVay.
And I was surprised it wasn't put as a 4:00 game. The Colts don't have any 4:00 games this year. It's all 1:00, and that's then they're 4 primetime games. That's miserable for you. I like the 1:00 games.
But. No, it'll be great for me because football's going to be starting at 10 a.m.
If you're still out in Seattle, then it'll be starting at 10 a.m.
I'm going to tell you right now, if for some reason Page extends in Seattle, like for another month or something, like if they give her an offer and we can't say no, I'm going to a bar in Seattle And I am
wearing
just
a Colts
screaming
jersey?
my ass off wearing a. Yeah, dude, I went in Boston wearing a shirt saying "fuck the Patriots."
You did.
I'm not worried about just cheering for my team. Moving along here, Rams at Colts, 1 p.m. Like you said, it should be a 4 o'clock game. You would think because of a West Coast team, it's not. Oh well.
I like the matchup. It's going to be, well, first of all, we get to see Aaron Donald versus Quentin Nelson. Now, that's going to be exciting. Now, are we going to see Quentin Nelson really have his first huge trouble with somebody, or is Quentin Nelson going to put up a good fight? I'm excited to see it.
We haven't seen this yet, right?
We have not. Aaron Donald has not faced off against Quentin Nelson yet in their careers. So
they're both going to be licking their chops, dude.
That'll be very fun to watch. So again,
do you think we let Big Q go 1-on-1 as much as possible?
I don't know. I think Brian Kelly's going to be there just kind of watching just in case, because, I mean, on the other side, unless they move Aaron Donald around and put him up against Mark Glowinski and don't try to put him up against Big Q, then Brian Kelly's going to go over there and help Glow out. But it's going to be fun to watch. And, I mean, the Rams team just has players all over. I mean, Matthew Stafford, who the Colts were kind of testing the waters with earlier this offseason. Jalen Ramsey's probably going to be on either Michael Pittman Jr. or T.Y. Hilton. That'll be another fun matchup to watch. So there's a lot of really good guys around or on the Rams team, and it'll be fun to see how the matchups play out.
I don't think we need to talk about probably division games much, but week 3 is Colts at Titans, our first away game. That's going to be right. That's right in the middle of this first 5 tough game stretch. And as always, Derrick Henry's going to be, a lot to handle, especially he's a guy who, gets better as the season goes on for some reason. So I guess I'm glad to kind of get him a little earlier, but I think he's hunting 2,000 yards again. So he'll be fresh that early in the year, and it'll be a good game. And
you say it's right in the middle and it's a division game, but it very well could be the most important game out of this 5-game stretch because that's the first game that's going to come down to a tiebreaker. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like the Colts and Titans are still going to be neck and neck for this division title, and it's probably going to come down to the final week, just like it did last year. So this very well could be a very important game. The Colts lost the tiebreaker to the Titans last year. They need to get it this year to ensure that they can have that leg up going into the final week of the season.
The Titans, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, are a good football team.
Oh, yeah.
And they're well coached at this point, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. Tyler thinks that the Dolphins are going to beat the Indianapolis Colts in Miami, and the fact that it's in Miami is about the only shot they got. I don't see us losing to the Dolphins, but I do not see it being an easy game.
No, I don't think it will be either. I mean, Brian Flores was really creating a good culture there in Miami. Yeah. And I think that matters because this Dolphins team isn't the Dolphins team of old where it's like, oh, it's the Dolphins going to be an easy win. No, they've got legit guys on that team. I think what it will come down to is how Tua Tagovailoa can do against this Colts defense, because Tua, I mean, we're still not sold on him. He showed. I know you definitely.
I think Tyler is selling Tua to himself. Like he's having to talk himself into Tua. He's standing behind Tua right now, but I think he's forcing himself.
What's the over under that Tua goes out that game and Jacoby Brissett has to come in and play his former team?
That would be awesome.
That'd be hilarious.
I would enjoy that a lot.
But yeah, I mean, I think the Colts have a good chance to win this game. I think that Tua is going to have a challenge, I should say, against this Colts defense. I think they can get after him for the pass rush, and the Colts do a lot of things on defense, so he's got to be mentally prepared for that as well.
FYI, I still have the Dolphins high on my list on Deshaun Watson suitors.
Could happen.
He will. Unlikely that he would be playing at all in the season, let alone that early, but I do see the Dolphins with Deshaun Watson before the season begins. Colts at Ravens. Last year we played them at home. This year we played them on Monday Night Football, our first primetime game of multiple. And that's game 5 of a really, really tough 5-game streak here. We just assume the Ravens are still going to be good.
I think the Ravens are going to be good. And I mean, it's probably not as big of a gap as you might think, because if you remember, the Colts had the lead at halftime of the game against the Ravens and then just completely fell apart. So I think by week 5, you're going to see...
That was the worst half of football we played all year, I feel like. And we lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right. So by that time, the teams are going to have their legs under them. You kind of have a sense of where they are. But you're right. The Colts are it's going to be tough because this will be the end of that 5-game stretch where the Colts are playing 5 teams that won 10 games last year. So it's at Baltimore, which is always a tough place to play. It's going to be a challenge on that one.
And for those of you keeping track, that's 3 away games in a row.
Start out with 2 at home and then 3 away.
Luckily, all in the Eastern time zone at least, so none of the funky sleep schedule stuff. Texans at Colts, week 6. Go ahead and count that as W.
I guess that's just going to be a big question: is if Deshaun Watson's playing, because
he's not going to be playing. He's not going to play for the Texans ever again. I'm telling you.
I'm confident in that too, but I've seen crazier things happen. And he's still a Texan as of right now, so we kind of have to consider it. And I think if he does get a suspension, it could be in the 4 to 6 game area, especially if and I mean obviously a ton can change. There could be
my sources,
criminal stuff, but if they end up like, I don't know, settling out of court or something like that, and Deshaun Watson gets a 4 to 6 game suspension, I mean then he could, and if he is still with the Texans, he wouldn't be available. So it's gonna be fun to watch.
Let me explain something real quick. Deshaun Watson. See, Andrew, and this is the perks of listening to a pro football show that the lead guy is a former lawyer. Basically, Deshaun Watson's lawyer came out and was like, yo, we're not settling, period. And they've already come out and said, that they're alleging that all of these are lies. So they kind of came out and they're strong-arming right now. You don't say stuff like that if you're actually completely, convinced that you could win. So,
I mean, lawyers talk a lot of stuff.
I'm just saying. So. I'm telling you, the recent episode of a show I listened to made me think Deshaun Watson has a better chance than we thought at getting off without much trouble, but he'll probably be put on the commissioner's exempt list here soon.
Basically,
at least.
My point is if Deshaun Watson's playing, it's a close game. If not, then the Colts probably run away by 10 to 15.
Maybe 21. Colts at 49ers. Sunday Night Football. Another away primetime game.
Shocker.
But hey, 49ers, that's going to be a real good test of our defense, I think.
I think it's going to be a good test of our offense because of how stout this 49ers defense is, and they're getting a lot of guys healthy. I'm actually going to be at that game. That's going to be my away game this year, so that'll be fun. Andy and I are going out there, but it's going to, and it's week 7. Do you think this is around the time that maybe Trey Lance gets in for Garoppolo or a little bit sooner?
No, I don't.
It could happen. So maybe we're seeing Trey Lance. I think that would help the Colts because he'd be still going through his learning, his growing pains and learning and stuff. But
Kyle Shanahan and their GM, what's his damn name? I can't think right now.
John Lynch.
So they're both saying like Jimmy's the starter still.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, I think it was Lynch, said that Lance he could sit up to 2 years behind Jimmy. No,
he's not going to do that.
Okay, listen,
I could see him sitting one year for sure.
He only played 1 game last year. He sat out a whole season last year pretty much already. You want to let this young kid sit out 2 whole years, waste 2 whole years? You don't move up to 3. You don't move up to 3, give up as much as you gave up. Because, what was it, 2 1s? And I mean, they gave some shit up. And then, obviously, that pick, you don't give up all that to not start the guy. He's starting week 1. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, it could. I
doesn't make any sense.
I still think the best plan for Trey Lance, I don't know about sitting him the whole year. I do think sitting him and you don't want to just throw him in there and say, here you go. You want to make sure that
I don't know
ready.
What the beginning of their schedule looks like, but maybe you do, depending on the beginning of their schedule.
Yeah, very well could be. But, I mean, we very well could be seeing Trey Lance versus Carson Wentz.
Okay. Anyway, next up, getting rid of the Titans right around the halfway point of the season. Titans against the Colts in Lucas Oil.
The last 2 years, the Titans have beat the Colts at Lucas Oil Stadium. And I think they've split, both times they've split the last 2 years, but it's been the away team that's won every single matchup.
Purdue and IU used to do that every year.
Yeah.
They flip-flop in basketball. Jets at Colts. Home team for the wackiest Thursday night football game I've ever don't usually Thursday Night Football should be a game that makes people want to watch football. That is not a game that makes you like, oh shit, I want to watch that game. Unless you're a Colts fan.
This is the lone primetime game that the Colts will be hosting this year. Now they are in more; they're in 4, but still only 1 at home. And you got to think that Jim Irsay is pretty pissed about that, because I know it has been. It's known that Jim Irsay said to Roger Goodell, like, this needs to change. We have a great stadium. We have a great fan base. We need to be hosting more primetime games. So it's almost like they threw him a bone with the Thursday Night Football, but then they put him on the road for the 3 primetime games. But
yeah, we got 4 though.
Yeah, and the thing is, this with our late bye, which we'll talk about when we get there, we still haven't got to our bye week. This is kind of like a mini bye in the middle of the season for the Colts against a Jets team that's rebuilding and has a rookie quarterback in Zach Wilson.
Jaguars at Colts, finally. The reason I said, Andrew, earlier that I am a little upset that we don't have the Jags a bit earlier. Again, don't want to play them in Jacksonville
don't want to play
early.
Week 1 because
hell no, not what I don't want to go to Jacksonville when it's scorching hot. I want to wait till a little later, but I could have hosted them a little earlier. You don't want Trevor Lawrence getting his wheels turning. You know, The earlier the better against a team like that. So it'll be an interesting game. I'm looking for, as much as I hate it, I'm looking forward to watching Trevor Lawrence play NFL football.
Too. Two weeks in a row, the Colts get rookie quarterbacks. Like you said, though, Trevor Lawrence will be in his 10th or 9th game starting, so he'll probably have his confidence built up a little bit. But it's gonna be fun to see what this Colts defense can do, and hopefully they can tee off on him.
And then another see, Andrew, and this is where I'm like, buddy, it does not get any easier. Week 11, Colts at Bills. After at Nope, that's at home. Sorry. You get it. After a Jaguars game, we got to travel to New York. I don't know what month is Week 10 in. We in November then?
That'll be in November.
My God, it's going to be cold.
Probably still going to be snowing in Buffalo, considering it's
10 feet.
10 months out of the year.
That's a tough game. Period. The end.
Oh yeah, I mean but the thing is, it's a tough game,
revenge game.
But it's a revenge game, and I think the Colts can win that game. They were very close.
Oh yeah.
They had a lot of mistakes, and they were still very close to beating Buffalo in that wild card game. So the Colts very well could do that. I mean, that's Week 11. We're definitely going to have Eric Fisher back by then, I would think, and Carson Wentz should have a pretty good footing, because you remember when Phillip Rivers started to take off. It was around Week 6 or 7. I think with Carson Wentz, it could be different since we're going to have a full offseason, but maybe it might take a couple games, but then you could see Carson Wentz kind of getting his confidence back, and he'll be in the full swing of things easily by Week 11. It'll be a fun game.
And finally, the 17th added game, the Buccaneers coming to Indianapolis. Now, that is one that I would expect to be a Thursday night or Sunday night or a Monday night game. That's the one I'd see. Tom Brady coming back to Indianapolis, which, by the way, that's not his biggest reunion game of the year. But, I mean, that's always been a big thing. Tom Brady against the Colts. You think the NFL want to capitalize on that? Now, let's put them at 1 p.m.
Hey, maybe we get Jim Nance and Tony Romo for that game.
There we go. I love me some Tony Romo.
Yeah, so that's a fun game though, because not only Brady comes back, Bruce Arians comes back, because he was the head coach when Chuck Pagano was left for cancer, and that's the game that Robert Mathis is being inducted into the Colts Ring of Honor. The same day that Tom Brady, who was a quarterback he sacked a lot in his career, is coming back to Indianapolis.
That's fantastic.
So that'll be fun.
I bet Mathis loves that too.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, listen, that game right there, that's when I think that's enough time for Carson Wentz to be comfortable. I think that's enough time for the rookies to get up to where they're going to be for the season. That game right there, I think, is going to tell us whether or not the Colts are
That's a big statement
real
game
contender.
For Indianapolis.
Yep, the Bills and that game right there, that is a big 2 weeks. And then Colts at Texans. And then finally, a Week 14 bye.
Very, very, very late bye. And you can see the pros and cons of it. As far as it being, obviously it's a very late bye. 13 straight games for the Colts to start the year. That'll hurt depth wise, because there will probably be some guys injured. There's going to be guys that are tired, but at the same time, if you have a late bye, that also kind of gives you some rest, allows guys to heal up before that stretch run right into the playoffs. So it goes both ways. And thankfully the Colts do play on Thursday night, Week 9. So they do, and it's at home. So they get that mini bye where they're at home and it's against a lesser team. Now you can't take the Jets as a lesser team. You still got to take care of business and beat them.
Correct.
But you get what I mean.
Yes.
It's that little mini bye that will kind of help them get to their actual bye.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it sucks that it's that late, but it does give us some late rest, and that hopefully can help carry us through the playoffs. Week 15, Patriots are coming into town. We're not sure what the Patriots are going to look like this year. We're going to know by then. So difficulty of that game, TBD.
Get to see.
Along with the time.
Yeah, because it could be December 18th or 19th, so it's going to be a flex game either way. Bill Belichick, the snake Josh McDaniels, make their return to Indianapolis. So that's going to – I really, really hope that they show Josh McDaniels' face. It might sit too high up. They're not going to show my sign.
Make a sign. The rivalry's back on.
I could wear the shirt.
You should wear the shirt, but how do you wear the jersey then?
You wear the jersey and then you just flash the shirt like you're flashing your boobies.
Please keep your clothes on.
But no, I mean, I really hope they put Josh McDaniels' face on the Jumbotron because it's probably going to be the loudest you hear.
Loudest boo of all time.
Loudest boo of all time. It's I'll certainly be very loud.
Colts at Cardinals, Christmas Day. Andrew, I've got a kind of a tradition that I guess broke last year because I couldn't go to the movies, but I always go to a movie on Christmas Day. Might not be able to do that this year.
Don't think you're going to do that.
Unless I go in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I got to get that movie theater popcorn, bro.
Get a refill and then come home and watch the Colts. There you go.
This is one of those games. Yeah, it's going to be tough.
It's
our
gonna
defense.
Be tough, but it's exciting, and
yeah.
I think the Colts will be up to the challenge.
That's a fun game.
We're used to DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he played us for how many years, and the Colts have had some success against DeAndre Hopkins. Other times they haven't. Kyler Murray's going to be a different animal. The Colts haven't faced him yet. They're just going to have to stay on their toes. But I think it's a game that the Colts can very easily win, and they just need to take care of business.
Yeah. I just think that's a fun football game. The Cardinals, though, if it's anything like last year, by that point, they've fallen apart. So cross our fingers. Week 17, Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders at the Colts. Who knows? We'll see.
I'm not too high on what the Raiders are going to look like next year. So I think this could be the Colts finish it out with a couple teams that they very well they should win, and they should win handily. So
yeah.
I think that definitely bodes in their favor, and I think the Colts can very easily beat the Raiders.
Yeah, and then Colts at Jaguars down in Jacksonville. It's at least going to be a normal temperature, not scorching hot like it would have been last year in week 1 at Jacksonville.
Normal temperature, but I mean the Colts
Frank Reich still not won in Jacksonville.
Can't win in Jacksonville, and that's going to be a huge game.
You know what? I hope we lose.
I don't.
Do you know why? Because
why?
I hope we're set up for a bye week 1, number 1 seed, and we don't have to win.
That would be nice. I would appreciate that.
Let me rephrase. I hope we don't have to give a shit about winning that game.
But that'll be the number 1. Then we're the number 1 seed, so we should still take care of business, even if we do have to sit some guys. But yeah, Colts still haven't won in Jacksonville under Frank Reich. They need to take care of business, and like I said, I fully expect that game to be a deciding factor in the division. I think it'll come down to the last week, and it'll be the Titans and the Colts battling for the division title again.
12-5.
12-5 for the overall prediction.
12-5.
See, I was leaning 12-5. I'm going to go 11-6, just because the Colts always lose a game they're supposed to win. It happens every year, and I got to count on that. But so I'm going to go 11-6.
Okay,
11-6.
Do you have us winning or losing week 1? Don't lie.
Right now, I got us winning.
I have us losing that one. So we disagree on another one then. Maybe the Ravens. I think I have us. No, wait, that wouldn't make sense.
I'd have to go through and see, but 11-6 because I think the Colts are going to lose a game they should win. It very well could be the Texans, very well could be Jacksonville, could be the Raiders. I mean, there's always a game that the Colts, you think they're going to win, and they just lay an egg. So I'm going to count on that, but I do think the Colts win the division, and I am going to put us at the 3 seed for this year. And this is in May, so that could all change by the time we get to September.
Hey, by the way, we're going to win the division.
We are going to win.
Going to win. Other Colts news, Andrew. The Colts roomy mini camp apparently
rookie
was last weekend. What do we know?
So the rookie minicamp was last weekend, and there were some nuggets that came out of there. One of them was about Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye is it sounds like while he can play inside, and the Colts might move him there, it looks like, to start at least, he's going to play exclusively at right defensive end.
Yes.
The spot where Dwight Freeney played all those years across from the left tackle. And I think that's his best spot. You want him to play that one spot. You don't really want to make him going all over the place along the defensive line. Let him focus in on that one spot. Let him pin his ears back. Let him go get the quarterback, because at Michigan, they had him doing a lot of read and react stuff. Right. Not in Indy. You're there as a defensive end. Go get the quarterback, and I think that's what's going to best suit his abilities too. Another thing that came out is the Colts. We talked about how Kylan Granson can be a weapon down the field.
Right.
The Colts were really impressed with what he did this past weekend.
That's what I've heard as well.
They think he can be a bigger contributor than they even originally thought earlier in the year.
Yeah, so I think he's going to get some significant playing time.
And the thing is, too, Kylan Granson is a very smart guy. He was recruited by Harvard. So this guy is not like he's just a freak athlete. The guy's got a brain on him. And I think that's another thing that the Colts really like about him, is that he'll be able to get that playbook down quickly, so they can put him in line, they can move and put him in the slot. They might even put him out wide, because he was a former wide receiver too.
It's not even just knowing the playbook, it's understanding it, why certain things are happening and stuff like that. And that's why player IQ is important.
Right. So those were the two main takeaways out of rookie minicamp. So, I mean, Kwity Paye, we knew he was going to impress early, and it's great to hear that he's being put at right end. So I can't wait for him to work with Robert Mathis. DeForest Buckner is going to be a mentor to him, and even Dwight Freeney. I mean, we saw that video clip where Jim Irsay got Dwight Freeney on the phone. They're expecting this guy to be the next Dwight Freeney, to be that incredible edge presence, and that other teams have to game plan for, and hopefully that comes to fruition.
Man, the way we find things out early and then they're officially announced later is causing me to not remember whether or not we talked about certain things. I know we talked about Eric Fisher and the possibility that we would sign him and that we hoped we would.
And he signed the next day.
That was last week. Okay, so the Colts did officially sign offensive tackle Eric Fisher to a 1-year, $9.4 million deal, which I got to imagine he's happy about. And obviously, Chris Ballard loves these 1-year deals, which, by the way, not super player-friendly, but he gives him an opportunity to prove himself.
So technically it's a 2-year deal, but the second year is completely voidable in 2022. So it's a 1-year deal.
So technically it's a 1-year deal.
But the Colts aren't viewing this as a 1-year deal. If Eric Fisher can come in and he
stay healthy,
you
know what I mean? He's going to perform if he's healthy.
If he comes in, stays healthy, and regains that Pro Bowl form, the Colts are very much wanting to extend Eric Fisher to a multi-year deal. This isn't just going to be a 1-year stopgate. If Eric Fisher can come back, this is going to be the left tackle that the Colts have for the next 5 to 6 years. So it's a very big possibility that Eric Fisher, we already have the future left tackle on the Colts right now. It's just going to be interesting to see how he comes back. Again, I think the Colts think he is a little bit ahead of Dio Odangbo's recovery as far as where they are in the process for their Achilles. So, I mean, the timeline's going to be difficult to predict, though. We heard a report from Brett Veach, the Kansas City GM, that he could be ready by the end of August. I think the Colts think he's probably going to be ready by end of October, maybe.
Sure.
So very well could see Eric Fisher start on the pup list.
I think Ballard is about to be real hardcore on wanting to make sure guys are healed up.
Right.
I think
they're not going to rush it.
I think he feels they rushed Kamoko Toure, and I feel that he regrets that, and he kind of talked about that. I don't think he's going to make that mistake again, especially with a guy that could end up being as important as Eric Fisher.
That's why there's a big chance he starts out in the pup list, and we don't see him until week 7.
Colts signed former Cowboys defensive tackle Antoine Woods to a 1-year deal, just more depth.
He had a lot of experience starting for the Cowboys, so he could very well try to grab that backup nose tackle spot behind Grover Stewart.
And Ballard was just talking about the importance of depth and, how our team struggled last year because of a lack of offensive line depth. So Not going to make that mistake on one of his favorite positions, defensive line, on the field. So Colts signed former kicker, Bears kicker, Eddie Pinheiro to a 1-year deal, likely just some camp competition for our boy Hot Rod. I'd be shocked to see him actually make the team.
I know you were kind of hurt by the
I
news
get it
a little
though.
bit, but
I get it. I just
exactly.
I didn't consider it because I think he did enough last year to prove himself to be our kicker. But yeah, he could have made some other kicks. He also made a few kicks I didn't think he'd make.
Yeah, competition's good for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it brings out the best in everybody. And if the thing is,
and it clearly did last year for Hot Rod.
If Rodrigo Blankenship is going to be the Colts' long-term kicker, a little competition from a former Bears kicker who hasn't kicked in 2 years,
Sure.
it's just going to make him better.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was pretty good. There were some kicks that you'd like to have back. He wasn't great from long range. He missed the one in Buffalo, but he was a rookie. So I think this competition will help bring out the best in Hot Rod. And the thing is, if he's meant to have the long-term kicking job in Indianapolis, this competition shouldn't be anything, and he should be able to take it by the horns.
Yeah, that's another one I wasn't sure if we had talked about it or not. Because it you hear the rumors and then you hear it's official, even though it's not official yet, and then we make it completely official. Colts waive linebacker Anthony Butler, center/guard Sam Jones, and cornerback Roderick Teamer. You guys have probably never heard of those people. I haven't heard of those. A few of them.
Just to make room for the 3 players we signed in Fisher, Woods.
You're going to hear that a lot in the offseason. Colts sign these people all and drop these. The exact same amount of people. So Colts plan to hold joint practices with the Panthers during training camp. Interesting.
Yeah, so the Panthers are the only home preseason game that the Colts will be hosting. So those, I think the week prior or the week of that game, the Panthers are going to come into town. They're going to have, I think, 2 or 3 joint practices with them, with Matt Rule and Sam Darnold and staff, and it'll be fun to watch right before that game.
Yeah, I agree. Andrew, leading into the news around the league real quick, who do you think's some good candidates for Hard Knocks this year? What team?
I mean, right off the bat, you got to think it's the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence.
Bengals.
Tim Tebow.
Jaguar, yeah.
Tim Tebow.
Urban Meyer.
If
I'm Urban Meyer, I'm telling the NFL to fuck right on off if they ask me to do Hard Knocks.
Unless
that'd be huge ratings.
That would be. Now, I don't know. Can Hard Knocks come in if it's a first-year head coach or no?
Ooh.
I don't know if they can or not.
I don't think so. I think the team has right of refusal there.
Okay.
But I don't know that
Jaguars
for sure.
owner loves publicity, so he might not
care. Yeah. He'll be like, no, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
What's that guy's name? Shad Khan.
Yeah.
Bengals, another good one. Cool Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
The Niners, I guess, could be another one. Kyle Shanahan would be fucking pissed. Oh, he'd be so pissed. I don't know.
Lions we'll have to Dan Campbell biting some kneecaps off.
Love that. Another first-year head coach.
Head coach.
We'll see. News around the league. Notable games around the league. Week 1, Cowboys at Bucks. The annual Super Bowl team hosting the first game. Hilarious that they get to win their first game easy as fuck.
Low key though, could be. I'm going to put the Bucks on upset alert because a little bit of Super Bowl hangover. They're really feeling themselves this offseason.
No.
Listen,
no. Super Bowl hangover does not fucking happen with Tom Brady around.
Yeah, but not Tom Brady, but the other players around.
I said it doesn't happen with him around.
Dak Prescott comes back healthy, ready to prove himself.
I don't care.
Zeke is healthy.
Cowboys lose week 1. Browns at Chiefs is an intriguing week 1 game.
AFC playoff rematch where the Browns almost beat the Chiefs.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Chiefs at Ravens. That's always a good one. Dude,
that's week 2.
I can't. Week 2, yeah. Week 2. Literally, Lamar Jackson called the Chiefs the Ravens kryptonite. I mean, that's literally, he might as well have said, yeah, we're kind of the Chiefs bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, and now they're just living in that. But that's an interesting one. This probably game of the year. This next one
on the Browns at Chiefs. I really like what the Browns did this
year.
The Browns are very good.
Yeah, Chiefs are in trouble that game.
That's gonna be a big matchup. Browns defense especially really good.
Stefanski, probably the most surprising success story in recent coaching hires.
Turn that culture in Cleveland around.
It's unbelievable. I bet Baker Mayfield was not a fan of that hire at first. I bet they're just best buds now.
Oh, yeah.
Buccaneers, Tom Brady returning to Gillette Stadium. That is going to be an interesting game. You remember when Peyton came back to Indy?
Mm-hmm. I was lucky enough to be there.
I don't think I was at that one. I did see his last game in Lucas Oil, which, by the way, the Colts won, and I have that ticket framed. But it's going to be a big game. It's going to be weird. I think Tom Brady could get cheers when he throws a touchdown pass.
Right now, tickets for that game are around $1,300 if you're trying to buy them just on like Vivid Seats or SeatGeek or anything. So pretty pricey ticket unless you have season tickets for the Patriots. It's going to be, I mean, it's going to have the same feelings of that Peyton Manning returning to the Colts. So there's going to be a lot of fans that are sentimental, but there's going to be some fans that are probably against it, especially how he left. So it'll be interesting to see.
And Jaguars at Bengals. I assume you have that one listed just because Lawrence and Burrow.
Trevor Lawrence against Joe Burrow, the rematch of the 2019, 2020, 2020,
2019. Joe Burrow played in the NFL in 2020.
Yeah, but he played in the national championship in 2020 in January. So it'll be a rematch of the national championship game.
Yeah, whatever. What's the next one?
Next one is Week 5, Bills at Chiefs, a rematch of the AFC Championship game. Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. That'll be a fun one to watch, and it's in Kansas City as well. Kansas City gets a lot of home primetime games. Must be nice.
Well, that makes
understandable.
Sense. That one's understandable. It makes sense.
Must be nice to get
every
single home primetime game at home, pretty much.
I agree. Okay. Then we have the Lions at Rams. Bills Chiefs, by the way, phenomenal football game. Lions at Rams. That obvious reasons. Matthew Stafford, Matt Stafford, and Jared Goff. 49ers at Bears. That's just, two big team names, I think, that play each other.
That very well could be Trey Lance versus Justin Fields.
That could be.
That could be a big matchup.
Patriots at Panthers. Cam returning to his old city for the first time, we should say.
I know what your answer is, but question for the public: will Cam Newton be starting Week 9, or will it be Mac Jones?
If Cam Newton doesn't start every single game this season, it's because he got hurt.
Okay.
Period.
We'll see.
I do not believe Cam Newton gets benched. Period. The end. Packers at Chiefs. That could be, two of the best quarterbacks of all time playing each other. We'll see.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers. Maybe not.
Hey, by the way, if it's not Aaron Rodgers, that game doesn't mean a fucking thing to me.
Doesn't mean anything.
Not a damn thing. Bills at Bucks. Probably the two best teams leading up to the season. I would say Bills Chiefs are kind of substitutable there. That's definitely the top 3 teams in the league, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime 2 top teams go against each other, obviously, hopefully a good football game. Browns at Packers. Again, if Aaron Rodgers isn't playing, no one cares. If he is, great football game.
That's also on Christmas Day. So that's the other Christmas Day game. I think that's in the 4:00 window there, besides the Colts Cardinals at 8:00. But yeah, I mean, again, if Aaron Rodgers is there, I think it's going to be a great game, and he's going to have a big test against that Cleveland Browns defense.
This next one's probably the best game between 2 shitty teams of all time. Jaguars at Jets. Pick 1 against pick 2. You love to see it. Drama.
A late season matchup against the top 2 rookie quarterbacks in Week 16. I mean, okay, real quick, what's your very early prediction on wins for the Jacksonville Jaguars this year with Trevor Lawrence?
Without looking at their schedule, because they've gotten better, aside from just Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. Trevor Lawrence has some weapons on his side that people don't even know their name. They were just talking about on another show, like that team has so many receivers and like tight ends and stuff that are like, oh, they have a chance at being, a breakout. They have a chance at being a breakout. Nobody's talking about how well Laviska Shenault, at least nobody besides us, from what I've heard, and I don't listen to any Jaguars.
DJ Shark
is one of those guys that is like brushing the surface of great receiver in the NFL. Laviska Shenault, though, he really busted out at the end of the year. Nobody's talking about him. Right. We talked about him. Nobody else. So people are not realizing, like, Trevor Lawrence has got better weapons, and obviously he's a better player than Minshew.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say they definitely finished 3rd in our division and probably win 8 games.
I'm going to go 7 to 8.
6, 7, 8.
I'm going to go 7 to 8. I really think that Jacksonville's going to take a step up because, I mean, you see what Andrew Luck did to the Colts.
11-5.
Went from 3-13 to 11-5, or 2-14 to 11-5. Trevor Lawrence, I think, is going to have a similar impact to Jacksonville. I really do.
That team's going to be something to deal with. This one's caused some panic. Packers signed quarterback Blake Bortles to a 1-year deal. Hilarious. Matt LaFleur. Blake Bortles? You mean the guy that took his team to the AFC Championship and barely lost to the New England Patriots? Yeah, I have all the faith in the world in him. I'm like, what is going on? I feel like
the Packers have signed like 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the past week. And I mean, I just put Blake Bortles on there because he's the most known name. But they're certainly loading up on quarterbacks in case this Aaron Rodgers thing does fall through and they end up trading him.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and listen to the first part of my take that was aired after that, because I guarantee Blake Bortles is on and they have some funny stuff to say about it. Giants sign tight end Kelvin Benjamin to a 1-year deal.
Tight end Kelvin Benjamin. He has moved to tight end.
That, by the way, good for him. That's a good move.
Good move because got a little big.
Yeah,
he had a couple extra wings.
Now he's gonna have to block.
The local restaurant.
I don't really know if he's ever been a decent blocker or not, but he's always been a big guy.
But yeah, he has officially moved to tight end, and this doesn't guarantee him a roster spot by any means. But I mean, he'll be there in camp, and it's a pretty crowded tight end room from what I remember there. Definitely gonna have to fight with Evan Ingram, but we'll see what Kelvin Benjamin can do if anything.
Eagles signed defensive end Ryan Kerrigan to a 1-year deal.
That just happened today. So, I mean, the Colts, people were saying, he could come into the Colts as like a veteran. The Colts really didn't have any interest with him, especially after the draft, after Kwity Paye and Dio were taken, especially with, Kamoko Toure, Tyquan Lewis, Ben Banigou, Al-Qadim Muhammad. So, Ryan Kerrigan just moves across the division, goes to Philly.
Andrew, I know you have got to run, so we'll try to make this little debate here quick. NFL offseason workouts, teams versus the NFLPA, basically. Essentially, the NFLPA is telling players, including rookies, not to go to offseason workouts.
Right.
First of all, if you didn't want offseason workouts, you should have tried harder to get rid of them in the bargaining last year when the new CBA was signed. Okay, that's number one. Number two, what room does the NFLPA have to do, have to tell these players what to do with their damn career and their future? Okay, and here's what I'm talking about. Broncos released right tackle Juwan James after placing him on the non-football injury list after he tore his Achilles working out away from the team facility. Broncos will not pay him the $10 million he was owed in his salary. If he were working out in the team facility, he'd still be on the roster. He'd still be playing. That's the danger these players are putting themselves in by, because the whole thing is we know what's best for our bodies and what to do, blah, blah, blah. But being at the team facility is the insurance that all these NFL players want, right? Everybody's like, well, our insurance, blah, 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 blah. We don't get any injury. You do if you do it in the team facility. You're right. You have no guarantees if you hurt yourself outside the gym because you're too stubborn to go in and work out with your team. What is the problem here? I get you have the right not to. Fine, sure, don't. That's the risk you run. You hate to see it. The NFLPA is telling. They're not telling these players this stuff. They're not. These players need to talk to their agent before they start making these decisions and understand what it means. What happens if I get hurt doing this?
Right, and the thing is too, the NFLPA. Yeah, I think it kind of seems top heavy to me. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs, but it's more this thing where to set out the off-season workouts is more geared toward the guys that have been in the league a while, that have those guaranteed contracts. Yep. If you're a rookie,
and the biggest voices in the locker rooms are these same guys.
If you're a rookie, if you're an undrafted free agent, if you're somebody that's on the fringe of making the team,
second string,
you're going to be at these voluntary workouts because you're going to want to make sure you put in that work in front of your coaches. You're going to want to get the extra training as much as possible. You're going to want to be in the facility as much as possible. And look, I get it. Me personally, the guys, and especially for Juwan James,
Juwan James,
you get it. it sucks because this dude he probably was just trying to get better, because those NFL players, they're expected to work out throughout the offseason, because if you just say, oh well, if it's not required, I'm not going to do it, you're going to show up to training camp out of shape, overweight, not ready to perform. So these guys do have to keep up their bodies throughout the offseason, and it sucks for him, but I don't know if it would have been as big of an issue if the NFLPA wasn't pushing this trying to make guys stay home. And the thing is, too, if you're one of those guys in the NFLPA, like one of your team reps, you have to come with some compromise, too, because at the end of the day,
exactly,
your union agreed to this. You agreed to the terms. And just for some insight, that it actually came out today, Ryan Kelly is the Colts NFLPA rep. Ryan Kelly and the Colts leadership team of their captains on the team went to Chris Ballard and Frank Reich and talked about kind of what they were going to do this offseason. And they came to a compromise that instead of having a full offseason program, they would have 2 weeks of mandatory OTAs, or not, or voluntary OTAs, I should say. And then that way they're done by May, and then they won't have any mandatory minicamp for the Colts. And the next time the Colts will all be together where it's mandatory is when training camp starts at the end of July. And this was actually Frank Reich's idea when they came to him and talking like, hey, what can we do to kind of shorten it, but still keep everybody together and working? Frank Reich said, well, let's put it all in May. We'll get rid of the mandatory minicamp, and then that gives you guys 2 months off.
Yeah.
That's the thing you have to do, is you have to have guys that are respectful leaders in the locker room, and you have to have guys in the front office too that are willing to work with you. And I think that's why the Colts are getting the best of both. And it came out today, the Colts had nearly 100% participation in their voluntary workouts. When you have leadership like that, that's what works. But you can't just have like JC Trotter or whatever his name is from the Browns saying, nah, stay home, don't do
bullshit.
any of this.
Well, and the part of the problem too is the older guys, Andrew, the guys that are expensive starters, that they don't want to go show up because they feel they don't need to, but they don't want the younger guys showing up
because they don't want their jobs taken.
Because they don't want coaches realizing, oh, this young guy that's not going to cost us hardly anything, he's playing just as well, if not better than this guy. Or even, depending on your money situation, even if he's not quite as good, he might be the better option than you, because you're not even bothering to show up and look at him. So that's why they don't want the young guys to go. It's not because they give a shit whether or not they're there. It's because they're not there to show that they're still number one. So, yeah, I mean, it's all selfish, motivation from the older guys. If you're Aaron Rodgers, if you're Russell Wilson, if you're Patrick, you don't want to show up. No, the media might give you shit, but your team is never going to worry about it. But I don't know. I think maybe a compromise, and I've heard other people talk about this, would be something like, mandatory workouts or voluntary, quote, workouts virtual. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I need you to record this. This is considered team sanctioned. If anything happens to you, you're still covered by the team, even though you're not in the facility. So we can kind of, you know what I mean? Like something like that. So,
and at the end of the day, I think it just comes down to the NFLPA needs better leadership. I mean, DeMaurice Smith has really not done a good job over the past few years especially the last collective bargaining agreement, and really getting what the players need. So get better leadership up top of the NFLPA.
Well, and look how split that CBA was.
Right. And a lot of it was the reason the CBA got passed was these lower guys being able to get it to pass. So honestly, get better leadership and start thinking about more of the guys on the back end of the rosters as much as you do on the front end of the roster, and then you might get some places.
All right, that's it. There's a schedule episode. Could be our last episode just under our independent educated fan name. So look for some changes to be coming. This next week, we probably do not have an episode. The following week, we will have an episode, but it'll be pre-recorded, no live stream, due to me moving from frickin' Virginia to frickin' Seattle. And honestly, Andrew and I are going to have to talk about that weekend schedule too, because I'm literally going to be moving the whole week. It's going to take me 5-6 days. So
we're going to try to get a special guest on. No guarantees, but we're going to try to get a special guest that I think you guys will really enjoy. And so definitely look at our social media so you know our schedule and when our next episode is going to come out.
And that is going to be at Twitter and Instagram at the Educated Fan. That's at TheEducatedFan. You know the rules. Anything else?
I think I'm good. It's glad to see you here, brother.
I enjoyed being here. Hey, we've got a new outro this week.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoy it. Brandon
we're gonna see if we can time this. We're gonna see if we can time this. But until next week, go Colts. Shit. Hold on. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try this again. We gotta get the timing down. So we'll be back with you guys here in a couple weeks. Until next time, go Colts.
Go Colts.
I fucking love football and I love you guys.